titsnari, tartarnari, TIghnari.
Hi there, I'm TIghnari.
And he is the newest 5-star released by Hoyoverse and fittingly Genshin's first dendro DPS. But today, I'll tell you why exactly that is such a misnomer, his true role, and why TIghnari makes Electro even more broken. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening YouTube, it's your Slime King, the Gym Man, and welcome to another video. TIghnari is in a very unique position in Genshin Impact. He is the only dendro on-field charge attack character, and by nature of just how few dendro characters there are, the focus is made purely on him to be the premier dendro DPS because he's the only viable candidate. However, TIghnari's damage isn't all that good to begin with, and if you focus on his damage, he will be lacking. So let's begin by breaking your misguided notions of this. TIghnari has only one reason why he is considered a DPS. It is simply because of his on-field time. He takes 6 to 8 seconds to perform 3 charge attacks and burst, and that's it. His scalings on his charge attack and burst are decent, and that is further amplified by spread. However, even with that reaction, it still does not put TIghnari in a position to rival the DPSs such as Xiao, Raiden, Hu Tao, or Xiangling, and as such, he should not be considered as such. Instead, what he truly is the best enabler for Electro teams. Before we get into why that is, let's delve a little deeper into the reaction that TIghnari abuses the most: Quicken. This reaction happens if you apply dendro to Electro or vice versa. The unique thing about this reaction is that once you proc it, you will apply a Quicken debuff on an enemy that lasts for 6 or so seconds. With a Quicken debuff, a dendro aura is left on the enemy. And when you apply dendro again, you apply spread, which is a 1.25 times multiplier. Applying Electro will not consume the Quicken and will trigger Aggravate, which is a 1.15 times multiplier, until the Quicken debuff wears off, or it can refresh Quicken again if Electro is applied when there is a dendro Quicken aura on the enemy. And all of this is merely limited by 1 unit's internal cooldown. TIghnari is unique in that his elemental application is uneven. He applies 1 unit of dendro in his kill, 4 instances of 1 unit dendro in his burst, and 2 instances of 1 unit dendro per charge attack. It's uneven purely because you can apply it all and blow your load, leaving you with no more dendro application for the rest of your rotation. This type of elemental application means that Bloom is off the table, as TIghnari applies too much dendro in such a short amount of time, and he relies heavily on charge attacks to do it. Which means there's no Hydro applicator in the game that can keep up with that, and the Hydro will just get completely annihilated. So, you put these 2 pieces of the puzzle together, and what you get is rather obvious. TIghnari is a spread DPS that is best paired with Electro units to get the most value out of him. And that is the very trap that people fall too fast in. New characters have often been fantasized as an on-field DPS. Everyone wishes the new character released was just like their new edgy flavor of the month unit, like Sino. But not all can be that. And TIghnari definitely isn't that. He is an on-field enabler that further strengthens Electro teams the most. In fact, he was made to make Electro even more broken. Fischl and Yae Miko are the primary units being enabled in all of this. Fischl's de facto best weapon in these teams is now Stringless. With that added EM and the damage bonus from Stringless, and her copious amounts of Electro application, she will be triggering Aggravate non-stop. Yae Miko, with her A4 Ascension passive, drags her past the mediocrity she was once in and fully solidifies her role as an off-field DPS. TIghnari's uneven application of dendro is actually an advantage in these comps, as you only need to trigger 1 instance of dendro in order to proc Aggravate in all of your Electro units. Not to mention they can easily reapply that Quicken without losing any damage, thanks in part to his secondary cluster blooms from his charge attacks. Pair that with the stated refreshing of Quicken. If Electro is applied to a dendro Quicken aura, and the quicken debuff will be permanently on an enemy regardless of how uneven TIghnari's application is. The best case to exemplify this is by looking at his best team and his rotations for it. TIghnari, Kazuha, Fischl, Nyai, Miko. This is the de facto go-to quicken team, and it's not even close. The rotation always starts off with TIghnari's E to apply dendro. One charge attack may be necessary if the enemies are too spread out. Then Nyai Miko does her right here, right now. Emerge. Switch to Kazuha to E, then burst. Then you switch to Fischl to E, catching Kazuha's buffs. Finally switch back to TIghnari to do triple charge attack burst E combo, then switch back to Nyai Miko to Q. This rotation is very tight, yet very sustainable. The thing is, Nyai Miko's E lasts for only 12 seconds. TIghnari's E lasts for only 12 seconds. And since you casted TIghnari's E first, you should be able to finish his own combo string, and right as you switch into Nyai Miko, you catch the tail end of all 3 Sakura totems on field, and thus maximizing her burst. And this rotation simply repeats itself, with the limiting factor being Kazuha's ER to burst off cooldown effectively. This team effectively hyper buffs both Nyai and Fischl because of Kazuha's buff, VV, and aggravate. That is unrivaled off-field damage, and that, at the center of all of that chaos, is that Adidas tracksuit bunny himself, TIghnari. Running a secondary dendro unit in TIghnari teams doesn't make sense. Quicken only needs 1 instance of dendro every 6 seconds or so. In theory, you could say, oh, my TIghnari's running 4-piece Wonders troop, and I need dendro, res shred, and energy, so I'm running a second dendro unit. But the thing is, it's not worth the trade-off. You can put Deepwood Memories on Fischl if you really want to. Energy is of no concern, as you are not bursting every rotation most of the time anyway, and that can be easily be solved by running at least 1 fab weapon in your team. Remember, TIghnari is meant to be an enabler for electro, and not the other way around. So a unit like Kazuha, especially at C2, or a unit like Sucrose, will be far better as they provide substantial buffs to the electro units you are meant to be enabling. One last note, an EM Sands will almost always be the better option for TIghnari. Spread's flat damage buff does not care about attack percent, and values damage percent and crit more. He has an Ascension passive that gives him damage percent on his charge attack and burst, and since Spread directly scales off of EM, he double dips, and no matter how much external sources of EM you might have on your team, it is always better to run an EM Sands. Unless your EM Sands is literally all flat stats, and your attack Sands is 40 CV or better. Pair that with the fact that his best in slot, Hunter's Path, has low base attack anyway, and his next best option, which is an R5 slingshot, is a 3-star weapon that further devalues attack. All in all, TIghnari is a great unit if you value electro and quicken based teams the most. He is the best character so far that enables all of these units to a T. Hell, you can even run a team composed of TIghnari, Beidou, Fischl, and Nyai Miko, and still see the results it gives. It paves the way for electro to be better without electro charged, and that is his major pull value. Sure, he will be transferred to the standard banner soon, but remember this, that is not a guarantee you will ever get him, as evidenced by the fact that I literally just got a kaching over a month ago after playing this game for 700 days straight. If the things presented in this video holds value for you, then yeah, he is a good pull. If not, then he is a mid pull that just simply provides more options for team building. He is far from OP, but likewise he is far from being mediocre. His role is solid and divined as Electro's enabler. Tell me what you think down in the comments below, or better yet, come at me over at twitch.tv/thegymman, where I stream Genshin almost every day. Come join the Slime Kingdom Discord, where I feed you slime content in every day. This is our parting. Farewell.